So as you can see, I've brought the Braun Paxette 35mm rangefinder camera out to the woods with me today, and it's raining. The weather's not too great, but it's going to be raining all week, and if I don't go out in the rain, I'm not going to be able to do any photography or make any videos for the channel. So I thought, what a better way than to embrace the rain and to come down to the woods and get some woodland shots in the rain. Everything's wet, everything's damp, so you know, get completely different shots than you normally would when everything's bone dry. So I'm going to mill around the woods, hopefully get some nice photographs from this Braun Paxette camera. I have used this only once before on the channel, so most of you probably haven't seen this camera. I've got a roll of HP5 in there, 36 exposures, but I don't intend to shoot all 36. I just want to rattle off, I don't know, maybe 10 frames at the most, get back and then do some developing. I'll have to cut the film out of the camera and use the rest for another day. So let's have a little walk around and see what we can get. Most importantly, I'm going to try and shoot very shallow depth of field. Now this camera's got an aperture of between f16 and f2, so I want to open the aperture wide open at f2, see if I can get some swirly bokeh going on, a little bit similar to what I've been getting recently with the Zeiss Icon Netar, which is at f4.5. Before I carry on, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get a notification next time I post a video. Cheers! So, you know, it's all trial and error and see how these things get on. So pretty much I'm in the woods looking for bokeh, shooting a wide aperture and bags of shallow depth of field. The only thing is there's not much sunlight coming through to make anything twinkle, so just have to see how we get on. So let's have a little mooch around. I've got this bag on here. This is a food bag which I've used just to cover the camera. You know me, I'm a man of basic measures, so just a food bag over the camera could keep it from getting wet while I'm walking around trying to compose my shots and see what I want to take photographs of. One of the best things about making these videos is the walk around shot. You know, we walk off, try and look around, trip over shit, try and walk around, look for things we want to photograph, not realising I've got to go back there and get my bloody camera. Let's see if it ain't been nicked by the time I get there. Okay, come back and get my camera. I need another cameraman. So I've just seen a lovely scene up here, although I said I'm going to shoot shallow depth of field. I like this. I'm going to grab this on an infinite. First thing I need to do is just to do a quick measuring, and it's light overcast, which means everything's like a soft box, you know, very nice even light everywhere. Let's just do a simple reading. Shooting the HP5 at 400, give me a little bit more to play with in this lower light. It's quite nice. It might not look lower light through the GoPro because that's pushing the gain up for the brightness, but the light's not fantastic, but it's nice and even. Someone in the comments is going to tell me some fantastic gizmo you can buy that goes over your camera in the rain and you can see through it and stuff, which will probably cost about $100 or whatever, or 100 quid. This will do me. So just a rough composure where I'm shooting out there. Right, double check, 10th of a second, f8, 400 speed film, zone focused at what, 10 meters, and it says at f8 I'll get everything between 5.6 meters and infinity in focus. So let's take the shot. Bag off, shot done, bag back on. Ah, simple as that, hey? Let's find some more scenes. .6 should be about right. Take the shot. Done. Bag back on, we'll move on. So in this shot I'm not even using the rangefinder, I'm just using the zone focusing on the camera lens itself. My aperture's at f8 and it's giving me a range on the zone focusing chart on this lens between infinite and around about 5 meters. So I'm aiming for that tree, that should be in focus and beyond, and anything kind of 5 meters away should also be in focus. That should be about right. Take the shot. Done. So I've just seen a scene here. If I focus on these at f2, can you see the background, all those leaves? There's a big massive gap of light up there, and those leaves in the wet are all shining. So I reckon if I focus on here at shoot at f2, I should get some nice shallow depth of field and hopefully some nice bokeh, whatever it's called, in the background. Maybe some swirly stuff as well. I don't know, I haven't tried it before with this camera. But that's what I'm reckoning. Let's take that shot, f2 on here, and see what happens in the background. Okay, so I'm pretty much done in the woods. I'm going to get back, cut the film out of the camera and start developing. I've probably taken, I don't know, I don't even think I've taken 10 photographs, but that's as much as I need for a little practice with this camera. Save the HP5 for another day. So I'm back in my darkroom. I got back from that shoot. It was pretty wet I was, and developed the film in X-Tol 1 part to 2. Negatives came out alright. I ended up taking 9 photographs in the woods. But I've come back with some nice negs and I've started making some prints in the darkroom. A couple of them I particularly like. So this was the first negative that I worked on. This was one that I shot at f2. I had to judge the distance, and it's not tack sharp, but it ain't too bad, you know. Bearing in mind you're trying to judge the distance. There's no autofocus on these cameras at all. But the only thing that did disappoint me was a little tiny bit underexposed. I managed not to get the exposure bang on with this one, but it's still a nice photograph, still a nice print, albeit a little bit too dark in the shadow areas. I could have carried on working with it, but I decided not to. That was the only print I did of that. And then the next negative I liked was this one here, which you see I've already made a print, 2.5 grade filter. This was one that I shot at f8, and I managed to get all the focusing right. It's relatively sharp, and just a few, you know, dark patches that I need to try and fix. A little bit highlighty up here on these leaves. But overall, it's not a bad print. So this was 7 seconds with 2.5 grade filter. I then decided to split grade and do 3.5 seconds contrast 0, 3.5 seconds contrast 5 split grading. And I managed to come out with some better results. And there it is, that's the split grade print. However, it's still a little bit light in certain areas, but I managed to pull detail back in the background. As you can see here, it's not so gone inky black, you know. It's managed to hold up the detail in the background. Just areas like this, and especially these leaves here, that I need to work on. So I'm going to make another print with this one at 3.5 seconds 0, 3.5 seconds 5. If I went longer with the grade 5, I could build up these darker tones, but then I'm just going to start losing my detail again in these darker areas, and I don't want to do that. So I feel like I've hit the right spot. I just need to use my hands just to do a little tiny bit of burning around this area here, and especially up here on the leaves. And if you're not sure what contrast filters are, these are contrast filters here that I use. These go underneath the lens, and they're all different grades, but they're basically a way to control the contrast when you're making a print. So I've got a grade 5 that I'm going to be using. That's for a high contrast filter, and I'm also going to be using a grade 0, which is a low contrast filter. The one I initially started off with was a 2.5 grade filter. There it is there, and that was my rock to stand on when I started making the print. So from that time, 7 seconds, 2.5 grade filter, I knew that I needed to split grade. 3.5 seconds with the 5 and 3.5 seconds with the contrast 0. So that's basically what contrast filters do. They're just a way to control the contrast on your print when you're printing in the darkroom. Obviously with multi-grade paper, and this is the paper that I'm using. This is Ilford's multi-grade deluxe paper. It's a glossy paper, and so this is multi-grade paper where I can use the multi-grade filters to control the contrast whichever way I want. There are different papers you can buy which are a set contrast, but I always use multi-grade contrast. Just gives me a little bit more control in the darkroom when I'm printing. So let's put some paper under the enlarger. I'm probably going to do the split grade, and then I'm going to go put the 2.5 grade filter back in and do my burning that way. Then it won't be biased to any tones. It will just be one flat contrast when I start burning the bottom, and also those leaves as well. So it'll evenly burn out the highlights and the darker areas of the print, if that makes sense. Contrast 0 filter in, 3.5 seconds, off we go. That's that bit done. Now I'll put the contrast 5 filter in, 3.5 seconds. That's now going to go to work on the darker sides of the print, all the shadow areas. 2.5 grade filter back in now, and this is where I need to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to turn this light off over here. You might not be able to see it now. Just a circular tool like this, and I'm going to put that up towards the lens, and that will start arcing the bottom area for me if I can judge it right. I usually do this right-handed, but my arm's going to be in the way. I'll come over this side and try it. 2.5 grade filters in. I'm not going to do any time, I'm just going to let the light open up and then judge the time with my head. Hang on. There's the bottom 1, 2, 3, 5, just a little bit of the top corner. So I've kind of vignetted it. Now I need to burn in some of those leaves. I'll use a burn tool such as this, just so I can point light through that hole onto those leafy areas. At the top, if I can try and get there. If you can see that or not. 1, 2, 3. Just so they're not so bright. Might be too long now. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's pretty much done. Let's develop it. In it goes. I don't know if I went too long at the bottom of the print, but I'll soon see. You just start to see it coming through now. Is it upside down? No. Yeah, I think I went too crazy at the bottom. The leaves look alright in the top left, but I won't know until I've stopped and fixed and turned the light on. And there it is there, exactly the same as the last print, except this time I did some burning down here, just some freehand burning, and then also burning these leaves in as well. The leaves have come out quite nice. I managed to get the detail back in those so they're not so overexposed, but the only trouble this time, I've also got the shadow detail there of the trees and stuff. It's all working, but this little tiny bit here is just looks too light. So I'm going to need to use, do exactly the same method, but this time just throw that the burn card with the hole in around here, this area, like so, and just build up some more tones in here. And there it is, there's my final print. So I've managed to keep the detail in the leaves here, just burning a little tiny bit at the bottom, and also using the Dodge card, the burn card with a hole in it, just around this area here, just to sort of potter in between some of the leaves. We've got detail in all the trunks, we've got detail back here as well. That might look inky black on the video, on this camera, I'm not too sure, but to me I can see detail in these leaves here. And when I compare it to the other ones that I did, this is the one that I prefer. So all I need to do now is write down my times, write down exactly what I did to make this print. And if I ever want to make a reprint, there you go, I can make a reprint. And that's the beauty of film photography and darkroom printing. No two prints are always the same. So, you know, it makes it unique, a one-off unique of its own. So that's the Braun Paxette 35mm rangefinder camera from the 1950s that I took out today in the rain in the woods. And it's a blinding little camera. You can find these all over online, especially on eBay. You know, you can pick these up for a song, these old cameras, and if you've got a good one, my one's alright, it works quite well. I don't see any problem with it. The lens is quite relatively sharp and it's good fun to shoot. And the old cliche is, you know, film photography slows you down. Well, it does, especially with these old cameras. You know, when you're using these, you've got to try and measure your distances between your subjects. Then you've got to try and work out those shutter speeds, because they're, you know, this one was 25th, and I think it was, and 100th and a 300th. So there's not much in between. So you've got to try and think about what you're doing, and it's always hit and miss, but it's still fun to shoot, and you know, you have a great time doing it. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this little video introducing the Braun Paxette camera, and I've got to say thanks very much to all the people that have subscribed to my channel. Really do appreciate you joining on and watching, and hope you're enjoying the videos, and also my Patreons and the guys that support me on the community members on YouTube. I really appreciate your support. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.